Book of Heaven, Volume 29, May 19th, 1931. Scenes from Eden. Fall of man. The Queen of Heaven crushing the head of the infernal serpent. How the words of Jesus have the communicative virtue, how he speaks of the doubts and difficulties. I was continuing my acts in the divine volition and uniting myself to the acts which it did in creation, in order to give it the homage, the love, the adoration for each thing created for love of creatures. My poor mind brought itself into Eden in the act of the fall of man, as the infernal serpent, with his cunning and lie, induced Eve to withdraw from the will of her Creator, and Eve, with her enticing manners, induced Adam to fall into the same sin. Now, while I was thinking about this, my beloved Jesus told me,
"My daughter, my love was not extinguished because of the fall of man, but became more ignited. And even though my justice justly punished him and condemned him, my love, kissing my justice, without delay promised the future Redeemer, and said to the deceitful serpent, with the empire of my power, 'You have made use of a woman to snatch man from my divine will. And I, by means of another woman, who will have in her power the power of my fiat, will knock down your pride, and with her immaculate foot she will crush your head.'" These words burned the infernal serpent more than hell itself, and he stored so much rage in his heart that he could no longer stay still. He would do nothing but go round and round the earth to discover she who was to crush his head, not in order to let it be crushed, but so as to be able, with his infernal arts, with his diabolical tricks, to make fall she who was to defeat him, debilitate him, and bind him in the dark abysses. So for 4,000 years he kept always wandering, and when he would see women who were more virtuous and good, he would arm his battle, he would tempt them in every way, and only then would he leave them, when he would be assured, by means of some weakness or defects, that they were not the one through whom he was to be defeated. And he would continue his wandering. Then came, indeed, the celestial creature who crushed his head, and the enemy felt such power in her that it knocked him down, and he did not have the strength to go near her. This consumed him with rage, and he employed all his infernal weapons to fight her. But no. He would try to go near her, he would feel himself being worn down, his legs being broken, and would be forced to draw back, and from afar he would spy on her admirable virtues, her power and sanctity. And I, in order to confound him and make him doubtful, would let him see the celestial sovereign, her human things like taking food, crying, sleeping, and other things, and he would persuade himself that it was not she, because being so powerful and holy, she was not to be subject to the natural needs of life. But then he would go back to doubts and wanted to return to assault, but in vain. My will is power that debilitates all evils and all the infernal powers. It is light that makes itself known by all, and wherever it reigns, it makes its power felt, which not even the very demons can get themselves to deny. Therefore the Queen of Heaven was and is the terror of all hell. Now the infernal serpent feels over his head my immediate words spoken to him in Eden, my irrevocable condemnation that a woman would crush his head. Therefore he knows that, by his head being crushed, his kingdom on earth will be overturned. He will lose his prestige, and all the evil he did in Eden by means of a woman will be made up for by another woman. And even though the Queen of Heaven debilitated him, crushed his head, and I myself bound him to the cross, therefore he is no longer free to do what he wants. However, those who by disgrace draw near him, he slaughters. More so, since he sees that the human will is not subdued by the divine, and its kingdom is not formed yet. He fears that another woman might get to finish burning his temples, so that the divine condemnation over his head, crushed by the foot of the Immaculate Queen, may have its fulfillment. In fact, he knows that when I speak, my word has the communicative virtue to other creatures. Therefore, as he was assured that she whom he feared was the most holy Virgin, and being unable to fight her any more, he resumed his round. He is all eye, and as though on the lookout to see whether another woman might have the task from God to make the divine will known in order to make it rain. And having seen you write so much about my fiat, at the mere doubt that this might be it, he roused the whole of hell against you. This is the cause of everything you have suffered, as he made use of wicked men, having them make up calumnies and things that do not exist. Then, in seeing you cry so much, they were persuaded that you are not one who can cause them the ruin which they so much fear for their diabolical kingdom. This is what regards the Queen of Heaven, on the part of the infernal serpent. Now I want to tell you what regards the part of creatures toward her. My daughter, the celestial creature was poor. Her natural qualities were apparently common. Nothing extraordinary appeared on the outside. She takes a poor artisan as her spouse, who earns his daily bread with his humble work. Suppose that it had become known before, to the great ones of the world, to the doctors and the priests, that she was the mother of the Word, that she was the one who was the mother of the future Messiah. They would have waged a fierce war against her. No one would have believed her. They would have said, "Is it possible that there have not been, and that there aren't women in Israel, such that this poor one was to be the mother of the eternal Word? There has been a Judith, an Esther, and many others." So no one would have believed her, and they would have put countless doubts and difficulties. If they put doubts on my divine person, not believing that I was the longed-for Messiah, and many reached the point of still not believing that I descended upon earth, in spite of the fact that I made many miracles, such as to induce the most incredulous to believe me. Ah, when hardness, obstinacy, enter into the hearts, they render themselves incapable of receiving any good. The truths, the very miracles, are for them as though dead and without life. Well then, much more so for the celestial Mama, as nothing miraculous appeared in her exterior. Now, my daughter, listen to me. The most serious doubts, the gravest difficulties that they found in your writings are precisely these: that I told you that I was calling you to live in the kingdom of my divine will, giving you the special and unique mission to make it known, so that, as I myself said in the Our Father, and the Holy Church says still now, "Thy kingdom come," that is, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. It does not say in the Our Father that this kingdom is on earth, but it says, "Come," and I would not have composed a prayer if I were not to obtain its effects. Therefore, in order to reach this, was I not to elect another woman, whom the infernal serpent so much fears, and as he, by means of the first woman, ruined the humankind to me, I, to confound him, make use of another woman to make up for the ruin he caused, and make the good which he tried to destroy arise for all? Here, then, the necessity of the preparations, of the graces, of my visits and communications. This sounded bad to those who have read, therefore doubts and difficulties, that it cannot be possible that among so many other great saints, no one has lived in the kingdom of my will. So it is she alone that is preferred to all, and when they have read that I was placing you near the sovereign queen, so that, she having lived in the kingdom of my divine fiat, you might imitate her, wanting to make of you a copy that resembles her, and I placed you in her hands, that she might guide you, assist you, protect you, so that you might imitate her in everything. This seemed so absurd to them, and sinisterly misinterpreting the sense, they spoke as if I had told you that you were as though another queen. How much nonsense! I did not say that you are like the celestial queen, but that I want you similar to her, just as I have said to many other souls dear to me that I wanted them similar to me. But with this they would not become God like me. And then, since the celestial lady is the true queen of the kingdom of my will, it is her task to help and teach the fortunate creatures who want to enter, to live in it. By this, they show as if I did not have the power to elect whom I want, and when I want. But after all, time will say everything. And just as they cannot deny that the Virgin of Nazareth is my mama, so will they not be able to deny that I have elected you for the sole purpose of making my will known, and that through you I will obtain that the thy kingdom come may have its fulfillment. It is certain that creatures are an instrument in my hands, and I do not look at who that be, but I look at whether my divine will has decided to operate by means of this instrument. And this is enough for me to fulfill my highest designs, and of the doubts and difficulties of creatures I make use in due time to confound them and humiliate them. But I do not stop, and I move forward in the work that I want to do by means of the creature. Therefore, you too, follow me and do not draw back. Besides, it shows from their way of thinking that they have calculated only your person, but have not calculated what my divine will can do, and what it knows how to do, and when it decides to operate in one creature in order to fulfill its greatest designs in the midst of the human generations, it lets no one dictate to it the law, neither who it must be, nor the time, nor the way, nor the place, but it acts in an absolute way. Nor does it pay heed to certain short minds, which are unable to elevate themselves in the divine and supernatural order, or to bow their forehead to the incomprehensible works of their Creator. And while they want to reason with their own human reason, they lose the divine reason and remain confounded and incredulous.
Fiat.